It is what it is. I enjoyed today. Full stop. Hi, my name is Colleen Theophil. I am an emotional intelligence coach, and this is Live a Life You Love, the podcast. This is where I help you go from simply surviving to thriving by teaching you how to manage your emotions and your thoughts. Use that information to now create momentum in your life. Today we want to talk about an interesting topic that has been plaguing us millennials, and I dare say even the Gen Zs and maybe some boomers, where life seems to be in a very weird space. We are all in a very odd space where, in my case as a millennial, we apparently are the adults of this generation, where if I'm in a room and there's a group of people, they'll be like, "And go ask an adult," and I'm the auntie that they come into, and that baffles me, but here we are in this strange season of life. I was talking to my cousin and we were just talking about how strange life is now as you continue to grow. And we stumbled upon the topic or the conversation of the duality of life, where in this strange season for many of us, two things seem to be true at the same time, where life is beautiful, but at the same time heavy. And so we want to talk about that today, the fact that two things can be true and that life seems to have this duality that comes with it, where it feels like a dance of contradictions, where you have these beautiful moments, but then you're plagued with sadness or grief or anger, and you have to learn to coexist with the both of them. I saw my best friend tunnel through the death of her father, but at the same time rejoice over the marriage of her little sister. It was the duality of life. It's odd where we experience loss, we experience anger, we experience these massive changes that could rock our system, but then in the same breath, feel proud of an accomplishment. And so how do you deal with life doing this odd dance of how do I manage being sad or dealing with grief, but then at the same time celebrate that I have people in my life who are having wins, or even myself, I'm having wins. It isn't always easy to cope with. So as somebody who's an emotional intelligence coach, is a sensitive area to tackle because, of course, I am mindful of the fact that you want people to move forward in their life, but then you have to hold space for somebody to feel all that they feel and to feel safe. And so this conversation isn't necessarily about balance. Because life, I have learned, isn't always about striking the perfect balance, because some things are going to give at some different seasons of your life. But this is just a matter of what are some things I want you to keep in mind as life does this weird dance, as it contradicts you from time to time, where I am angry and I am happy at the same time, because the two can exist. So the first thing I want us all to remember that is super important is to learn to apply grace. The concept of grace is giving yourself the room to feel all that you need to feel without these tough restrictions of holding yourself to a standard that at this current moment you can't always meet. And I've actually learned this lesson with dealing with my friends who have been experiencing grief in different ways. And when I mean grief, I don't just mean the loss of someone. Some of us are grieving what we expected from ourselves at this stage of our lives. And we are at that stage where some narratives that society told us should have already come to pass has not happened for some of us. And you grieve the person that you thought you would have been in this moment. And so I'm learning to apply grace. And so what does applying grace mean to somebody? It means that there are moments where you are going to have to acknowledge that you need to simply step back from something and give yourself a chance to catch your breath. We have to be okay with not being okay and letting somebody know that you're not okay. Sometimes people expect us to go on and be like, well, it's time to move on. And in the case of grief, there's no moving on. You adjust and you learn to move forward, but you don't necessarily move on. You have to give yourself that opportunity to catch your breath, or just sit in your silence and accept the reality of what has gone on, what you missed in yourself. So we have to learn to apply grace. I was having a conversation with a colleague recently, and she was talking about the loss that she was experiencing in her life. And she was just like, one of the things that made it harder for her to move on was she felt that she needed to be something that she wasn't in that moment, because she felt like it was the best way to move forward. And so because she didn't hold space for herself, because she didn't pause for a bit, it made matters worse, because now she added pressure on top of the grief that she was feeling. So this is my admonition to all of us. We have to learn to apply grace. You're not going to get it right sometimes when the aspect of life that is difficult is weighing heavy on you, you have to give yourself the opportunity to stumble a little bit. You have to give yourself the opportunity to not get it right. You have to give yourself the opportunity to redefine who you are in a difficult season of your life. Some of us have to apply grace when you've passed, you're in a season that you've never experienced anymore. I don't know if some of y'all are like me, where I didn't grow up sheltered, but I grew up safe, which therefore meant that there were some things as an adult that caught me off guard because you've never witnessed it. So when it happens, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Because nobody said that this is how it's going to be. And so because of that, you beat up on yourself because you are like, I should know how to navigate this. When the reality of it is, no, I've never walked this way before. So I have to be kind enough to myself to know that I have to be able to give myself room to adjust. So the first point is apply grace in this dual space of your life. The second thing is be intentional about the choices that you make. One of the things that the duality of life has taught me is know which battles to fight and what to leave alone. Because two things are warring at the same time, your attention is being split in a very big way. So you want to succeed at the same time, yet you feel like you're in a rat race. That's two things that are warring at the same time. How do I breathe? How do I relax? Yet you're telling me I have to accomplish this. You have to be intentional about the choices that you make. So there are some battles that you don't fight. There are some things you leave alone. There are some people you don't respond to. There are some seasons or moments where you have to let things go. Be intentional about your choices, because your choices are what determine the way that you move forward, whether you move forward in a peace of mind or whether you move forward heavy. You have to be able to choose what's best for you. So choose the things that are going to make a difference in your life, that add to the happy seasons. Now listen, some of the bad things that we're experiencing, guys, they are inevitable and we cannot avoid it. It therefore means that I have the opportunity to choose the things that bring some happiness, that brings me in spaces that allow me to breathe. So when you are in a space of duality, look at your life and say, what's a battle that I absolutely have to fight because it's going to determine the way I move forward? Or what's something I just need to leave alone and allow it to unravel? And as it unravels, we allow ourselves to ride the wave. I have learned to be deliberate about my choices. You cannot leave some things for chances. You can't leave your thoughts open for anything to happen. I choose what I need to focus on. I choose the thoughts that are necessary, that are going to help me navigate the ins and outs of the difficulties of life and the beauty of it. So be very intentional about the choices that you're making as you navigate things that are both beautiful and difficult at the same time. And then the third thing, which is so important when you are experiencing beauty and difficulty in one, is you have to learn to take some things at face value. Listen, one of the problems with having two things working at the same time is that it is easy to become a bit hypersensitive. What do I mean by being hypersensitive is you view everything through a lens that needs to be analyzed or criticized, or I wonder if this is what this really was. And listen, you are creating more stress for yourself sometimes when you become hyper analytical, or I wonder if I'm perceiving this right, or am I this? So have you ever experienced like me when I am sometimes not being mindful of what is going on? I would be in the middle of laughing and I would have that kind of weird outer body experience. I was like, but am I really happy in this? Is this something that I should really be happy about? You know what? I should maybe dress back. I shouldn't be gatekeeping, as we like to say, or kikiing, because the seriousness of what is going on here should warrant my attention. I have learned that I rob myself of the opportunity to create beautiful moments. And so I want us to learn to take some things at face value. Listen, live in the moment. Yes, I know that some of us are in the middle of deep loss, deep regret, in the middle of grief. It doesn't mean that you need to rob yourself of a moment that can now create a new happy memory. So there are some things I want us to just simply accept for what it was. I enjoyed today, full stop. You don't need to linger on with the thought all the time. And I know it's going to take some flexing of that muscle, but we have to learn some things, to take some things at face value and not question or doubt everything. You remember, life already, life is going to be difficult. It is going to wild out. You have the responsibility now to make sure that you create moments that give you the opportunity to breathe, that give you an opportunity to smile from time to time. So we have to learn to take things at face value. Sometimes somebody will ask me, well, what do you think about that? Nothing. I have no thought. I experienced it. It was beautiful. It is what it is. Listen, my new phrase was, it is what it is, and it was beautiful. No more to it than that. So we have to learn to take some things at face value simply because this is how you're going to create more memories that could actually be beautiful. So we talked about the duality of life. It contradicts itself. You can both be happy and be in a difficult season at the same time, and sometimes it's overwhelming to balance the two. Sometimes some of us hold ourselves so rigid to some of the narratives that tell us we have to be this, and because we have those narratives over our neck and breathing on our neck, we can't enjoy the life. I really want to encourage us as millennials, or those of us who are in that generation where you're in your early 20s or 30s, trickling out into your 40s, where we don't have to wait till the point where you give your last breath to now begin to enjoy life. We can work hard, navigate the difficulties, but still live a very beautiful life. So remember to apply grace. Sometimes you're going to have to step back and give yourself the opportunity to breathe and know that you are trying to figure this out. The second thing is be intentional with your choices. Choose wisely the people that you want to be around. Choose the battles that you're going to fight, and some things that are not worth wrestling with. Then the third thing is take some things at face value. Don't overwork it. Don't overthink it. It is what it is. You enjoyed the day. Fantastic. It was a hard and sad day. Don't overanalyze it. It's okay to have those moments. So as we continue to navigate the unpredictability of life, the highs and lows operating in one, that tension that you get from life, I hope that we remember to apply these three things. So I am Kelly Theophil. This is Live a Life You Love. I hope that this encouraged someone that you're not crazy, because sometimes we just feel like if we're crazy, like if there's this weird one, am I alone in this? You are not alone. So this has been Live a Life You Love. If this episode helped you, please share it with somebody. Be sure to subscribe so that you can comment in the community that would help you to grow and learn. So I'll catch you on our next episode.